And now, an 8th special presentation.
In this edition of Artbeat Nation, we meet an artist who interweaves her love of fabric and color.
They use different patterns with other patterns that you would think wouldn't work, but they do.
A music group with chameleon-like qualities.
Honestly, classical music is the roots of all music. It's what everything goes back to.
Emotion takes shape on canvas.
My style mostly is abstract, very thick with paint and texture and color.
Meet an artist turning tin cans into works of art and acts of human kindness.
The more I cook and feed, the more material I have to make can art, the more I can sell to buy more food to feed more people, to buy more cans to get more money to feed more people.
It's all ahead on this edition of Artbeat Nation. Funding for Artbeat Nation is made possible by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you. For fiber artist Donna Tronka, the ability to mix media with traditional art enables her to create beautiful kimonos from materials that are often discarded. Take a look.
Okay, we have our last red bag. So, for me, I think it was the ability to absorb the feeling of the colors, which that's another thing I do, is I feel the color, and when I think of these things, then I think of the color first. And so when I'm thinking of my work, if I get stumped, then I think about somewhere I've been or sound or something like that, and it brings color, and that helps me to go forward if I'm in a corner.
Tronka started in art the traditional way by taking classes in high school. She started college as an art major, but her father talked her into a business degree. But it was at college that she was introduced to fiber arts.
Well, fiber arts, it was primarily early in college, and I did more weaving then, and I'm not really one to sew, so I preferred the weaving or felting. I like that ability to create an interlacement, and the felting, you can do that with either needle felting or the traditional wet felting, and then the weaving, creating all these different patterns with this interlacement. But when I discovered the plastic, and that came much later, that's only been about 5 years ago. When I discovered the plastic, I discovered I can do the same things with the plastic, not the felting, but I can weave, and I can create these quilt-like projects that are brighter. The colors are brighter, they're more intense than I can get with a textile. So I think that's what's drawing me to it, and what keeps me there is this ability to have these wonderful textures, but they're different. They're bright, they're shiny, they're long-lasting. Now I'll have some more color in there. Let's see what it does here. Ooh, that's nice. You have to look at it differently, and it takes a lot of research and experimentation. And when I first started working with it, I was primarily using the design elements that were in plastic bags that were already imprinted on plastic. But it wasn't, I didn't have enough variety. I wasn't able to be as creative with that as I wanted to be. Plus, you have to be rather careful about trademark infringement too, so you have all those issues. So what I did was I started to look for paints that were not oil-based. So acrylic paints, beautiful. You can paint them on the plastic. Sometimes they'll bubble. That can be a look. I can do a lot with a hair dryer, drying them as they go on. But what I realized was you have to layer, whatever it is you apply to your first layer, you have to layer on top of that or it flakes off. So then you got the ability to take all these other colors of plastics, these sheer plastics. Now it's just like painting. So now you're taking something you've put on, now you've used another sheer layer, that gives it a different color. You can put another layer behind that, an opaque layer, that gives it another color. So you can build on this texture and color with the plastic just like you would if you were painting canvas or fabric or anything absorbent.
Taking the creative process further, Tronka took art, her plastic art, three-dimensional.
Growing up in the area of California, we had a very large Japanese population, and I'm very drawn to this beauty of Japanese art. You know, it's got a simplicity but a complexity at the same time, and they use different patterns with other patterns that you would think wouldn't work, but they do. So I thought, how can I do that with the plastic? And how can I make something very traditional in a very traditional manner out of something you wouldn't imagine that I would make it from? So it's contrast. So yeah, I started doing that. I sew it on the sewing machine. Plastic will stitch. I can make all these interesting patterns using my own imagination or stencils or anything. Anything works, scraping, anything. And it allows me also to use plastics that are not recyclable. And that's really the direction I'm going now more than anything, is these heavier plastics used for shipping and things like that, that really the recycling centers won't take them. So it's my little way of keeping that out of the landfill, where the other bags I can take to a recycling center. That's the other thing that's really interesting about using this medium, is that everybody can get involved. So people save bags for me. People who maybe have seen me in a gallery, they'll bring bags to the gallery and ask that they give it to me. I think it's wonderful because now they're looking at plastic differently too. You know, it's something that, well, someone can reuse this or recycle this in a different way. So that's been kind of fun.
To learn more, visit DonnaTronka.com. Since its establishment in 1890, Civic Morning Musicals has brought talented chamber musicians to central New York State. Up next, we meet some of the dedicated members of the organization working to keep this genre of music alive.
My name's John Spradling. I am the immediate past president of Civic Morning Musicals. I was president for about 5 seasons. CMM started out as morning musicals, which exactly what it was. Recitals, so forth, taking place in the mornings in ladies' living rooms, and they were playing music for each other because nobody wanted it out of their lives. They had to have it. We brought chamber music to Syracuse. We brought symphony orchestras, and I think probably most notably, we brought an astonishing array of top world-class soloists. Arthur Rubinstein, Vladimir Horowitz, Jascha Heifetz, the great singers, all came here under CMM's auspices. CMM has been around since 1890, and one of its reasons for existence today is that it has taken on chameleon-like qualities. It services what's needed to be serviced at various points in the community's history. The other huge thing that we've taken on is that we realize that young people and youth are the future of this great culture. Everybody knows that classical music and the classical arts don't have the instantaneous appeal that some pop stuff does. And we have to therefore encourage and cultivate any of the young people in the area who see that endeavors in classical music are in their future and something that they best spend their time on now. So we encourage that.
I started piano actually at the age of 5. My brother started making my brother play piano for a year, and that was the deal, and if he didn't like it, he could quit. And when he started, I actually begged my mom to start performing. And out of that, I started taking lessons from my mom for a couple years, and then it led on to meeting John Spradling around the age of 8. And then he got me into the competition circuit probably around 10 or 11 years old, competing locally, CNYMT competitions. And out of that, CMM kind of jumped on board. They helped me get opportunities to perform on Wednesday concerts and things like that. The actual first time I won, I was 12 years old as I played the Grieg Piano Concerto. I was the youngest competitor at the time. Being 12, I was younger than most people. I mean, I came up to the shoulders of everybody there. At the top of my head, I was small as anything. Nobody believed that I could pull it off in the end. And it was just an amazing experience. It was life-changing, pretty much. the Civic Morning Musicals allow me to keep performing, I'll gladly jump on board and perform as much as I can, bringing it to the public, helping people understand music, enjoying it more, helping people my age understand music. Because as John said, most people my age like pop, like rock music, things like that.
I think the thrust in encouraging youth is here to stay for as long as I can see, for the foreseeable future. As you'll note, I'm a past president. The organization has had a long list of really distinguished people being at the helm of this organization, as well as the board. Without our volunteer board, we can't do anything.
Honestly, classical music is the roots of all music. It's what everything goes back to. Pop music and rock music couldn't be created today unless classical music first came about. I choose classical because it moves me internally. It does something to your mind and to your body, emotionally and physically that, other music does, but it's music without words. So, it does more long run for me.
For more information, visit civicmorningmusicals.org. John Krempel began his career as a psychotherapist, but ended up a painter. Rob Stewart takes us inside Krempel's studio in Sacramento, California.
Welcome to the artist studio of John Krempel in Sacramento. Good to see you, John.
Hi, Rob. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. And we are surrounded by beautiful art. You are well known for your style. Tell me about it.
My style mostly is abstract, very thick with paint and texture and color, very emotional, very many layers, kind of break through some of the layers to get into the depth of the painting. I create that by using a lot of different unconventional ways of mixing paints, whether it's water-based paints with oil-based paints, and they get clumpy. And that way they create texture and cracking, and I can sometimes pull them apart then as they're drying. Use sanding and all kinds of techniques to create that.
You mentioned something that I want to go right to, and that is you said that they're emotional. You were a psychologist, correct?
Yes.
Psychotherapist?
Psychotherapist.
And you changed careers.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
After so many years of dealing with people's emotions, it got
That's tough.
somewhat tiresome. And I had been into the art scene for many years. Just couldn't really pursue it. Somebody had seen a piece of my art and asked if I would put an art show together. And that was about 9 years ago. And I wasn't quite sure if I could do it by myself. I had never done anything like that. So I got a group of people together and started a little group called Temporary Artist Group. And we put an art show together. And ever since then, that was in 2003, my art's just taken off. I've done something like 90 shows so far.
Goodness. Your pieces of art are all over the city. They hang in office buildings and in homes all across Northern California as well. What does it make you feel when you see your art hanging in someone's home or office?
It's very surreal and somewhat humbling. To me, my pieces of art are very personal, and they have a lot of my feelings into it. And so to put kind of my heart, my feelings out there for people to look at and critique, it can be very, very difficult sometimes.
So as a psychologist and now as an artist, do you see sort of a mix, so to speak, with the platform? Do you pour your emotions into your work?
Absolutely. As a way of expressing my emotions, my feelings, especially with color and texture.
I want to talk to you more about the emotional connection with you, because art is emotional, whether you're creating it or whether you're looking at it. You have the benefit of being able to bring your psychology into your artistic expression.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
When I start a painting, I have an idea in my head, what I want to portray. The thing that I am most interested in is how I'm going to construct that painting to get that feeling across. I usually want lots of texture. If
Layers.
Layers, lots of layers.
Which relates to emotions.
Yeah, and the colors too. Very hot colors, very warm colors. And a lot of my moods end up in my paintings too.
Really?
Yeah.
When you paint, do you get lost in your work?
Absolutely. I have a release of feelings, and it's the most calm I ever feel when I'm painting. A lot of tension just leaves my body, kind of transforms me somewhat.
Well, it's expression.
It is, and a lot of people don't realize that, and I think that's why it's so difficult sometimes. When I put a show on the night before, a lot of times I can't sleep because people don't realize that I'm putting my emotions, my feelings, along with my piece of work out there for everybody to see.
I can tell that your art, as I look around your studio, and art is everywhere, not in just your studio, but in your home, that art really is something to your soul.
It really is. Most of my home is filled with other people's art. I love to study it because I know what it took for them to get that piece to that point. Time, energy, effort, thought, emotion, feeling.
I love to ask artists of any realm this question because you're typically doing your craft for someone else. But does it move you too when you look at your work?
Most of the time it does. Sometimes it doesn't, and if it doesn't move me, then it gets put in a pile of paintings that sit there for a couple years, and I pull them out and work on them again. Then I have a totally different perspective with what they're about. I no longer remember the feelings or anything I had at that time or what I put into it, so it's almost like starting over.
That's really cool that your work has to matter to you.
Well, I call those pieces blanks, even though they're not blanks. They're actually pieces of art that have been worked on. But then I started as a blank, but it's really not a blank because it already has texture on it, already has colors on it, and I just start over from there.
I also want to ask you, are you self-taught?
I am self-taught somewhat. I have a master's degree. I had taken some art classes in college, but most of my art is all from inside here.
And inside there.
And inside here. But it's mostly self-taught, yes. I'll know when it's finished. I'll know when I'm there, when I'm at that point.
It's almost like processing emotions.
Right, absolutely.
You know when you get there and you know when it's done.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I can start off a day in a really bad mood, and by the time I'm done at the end of the day working on some paintings, I'm in the best, most calm place that I could possibly be. It's better than therapy.
And that's coming from a therapist.
Yeah.
Well, John, thank you so much. It is
Thank
such
you,
a pleasure
Rob.
to meet you. I was fascinated with your story, blending psychology and art, because they really are the perfect fit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Thanks for letting us in your studio.
Absolutely.
Here in Sacramento with artist John Krimple.
To learn more, visit johnkrimpleart.com. Arizona artist Alexi DeVilliers constructs sculptures, robots, and other fun creatures out of recycled tin cans. The tin cans he uses for his projects come from ingredients in meals he cooks up every week, which he then donates to elderly homeless in Phoenix. DeVilliers proves that one man's trash is indeed another man's treasure.
I like to cook and I like to do art. I like to make my robots. I think people need to eat above all. I mean, it's the main thing in life. You have to eat. And I feed elderly homeless people in downtown Phoenix. They're heavy. They're about 1.5 pounds each. To be able to feed the elderly homeless, I use the cans that the food comes in to make sculptures. I make dogs, sharks, and robots and cats, airplanes. These cans have a story behind them. Every single one of them either fed an elderly homeless person or a battered woman at the shelter. The more I cook and feed, the more material I have to make can art, the more I can sell to buy more food to feed more people, to buy more cans to get more money to feed more people. My name's Alexi de Villiers. I am a recycle artist. That's a leg, and then that's an arm, and that's an arm. People have called my style of artwork steampunk, but I never knew what that was until just recently. And I always thought it was just can art or recycled art is what I would, recycle art, because now I'm into just everything. And the material I get is all junk or trash or just leftover things. I see it and I say, oh, I can make something with that. Well, I have no formal training except if you'd call junior high shop class, high school shop class, formal training. I learned how to weld, learned how to cut wood, measure wood, use screws, use tools, sanders, drills, bores, everything, grinders. And now the tools I use is self-tapping screws and a drill and a pair of tin snips are the main two tools that I use. One Halloween, I said, let me make a couple funny things and put in the yard. This is an old DMV eye checkup thing. That's a toaster. That's his mouth in there and just some teeth. And those are those Freon tanks. And then the golf clubs as feet. A lot of my art is literally functional. I make toilet paper holders and all sorts of different functional things. And this is literally a functional sawfish. And then I just started to make, get smaller and smaller and smaller till I had all the leftover cans all piled up. And I just put a few together and said, oh, it looks like a robot. I cut the can in half and then it fits right on there with 4 points. I put a screw and a screw and then a screw and a screw and it looks like a little foot and a leg. And then about a year in, they're all stacked in the yard. My wife says, why don't you sell some of these? So then that's where it all started. Robot sale! These are working lunch boxes. I attach heads and feet to them. You can put your lunch in it, and all you got to do is do like a little push-up, and you can have your lunch. And you can you can put your cell phone in his hand, or you can put your iPad there. And then I use a lot of Cabbage Patch dolls. I find a lot of dolls at the Goodwills and things, and I use the Barbies. I think that the coffee pots and the tea kettles are the funniest. That's just an upside down tea kettle. And I make the lamps. These are track lighting. The head is a track light and the fixture is mounted on the inside. So I just disassemble it and load it on top. And I buy wiring and switches. Toilet paper holder. Put your roll of toilet paper, put your air freshener. And some are just funny. I make the heads move. Maybe I'll make this one a sad face, so if you're not feeling good one day, you can just turn it around. Growing up as a kid in Florida, Miami, Florida, my mother had 5 kids and 1 paycheck. So my mother had to stretch the paycheck a lot, but I remember how much love went into making the food and how delicious it was, and there was always plenty, because she would start out with dried beans, dried rice, and she'd go get a nice giant cut of meat and cut it herself, and there was always a lot of food for a little bit of money. So my wife and I, after a bunch of years, we moved out here, and then I got a job with the state of Arizona at the Veterans Home with the Department of Defense, cooking food for the retired colonels and sergeants and stuff like that. And they taught me how to cook in large portions and how to make it small so they don't really need a knife. So that kind of spilled over into the cooking now for the elderly. We saw how many homeless people there are just right here in the park down the street from us. So one day we thought, let's go buy some frozen meals and put them in the oven and take it over to them. And it came out to like $55 for 40 little frozen meals. So I said, you know what, I can do this much better and much cheaper. So the next week I went and bought rice, black beans, and a big old leg of pork, a Cuban tradition. And I cooked it up, and I was able to make 70 meals with $50 worth of stuff. So the next week I bought enough food out of my own pocket to make 120 meals, but this time, instead of going to the streets, I just went straight to the shelter. So as soon as I got there at 10:30, they were all lined up ready. So I just started to pass out the meals. And 4 years later, we've been just doing the shelter, the elderly shelter. It's fulfilling to see these people that don't have anything. They're older and the streets are tough. My future plan is I want to get one of those empty buildings downtown there and turn it into a kitchen that works Saturday and Sundays. Plus I want to hire veterans coming over now. So I want to show them, you know, I'll teach them to cook, teach them to do things like that. I'm sure they know everything, but I know you drove a tank there. Here, no one will give you a job shoveling sand, but let's cook, watch, everyone eats. I like to cook and I like to do art. I like to make my robots. So I can keep cooking and keep making art and it just keeps going in a circle. These cans have a story behind them. Every single one of them came from tragedy, but then it's trying to alleviate some of the tragedy in these people's lives. So, you know, they get away from their abusive husband at the shelter, they have a nice hot meal, those cans come to me, and then I feed elderly people that don't have anything. So when you buy it, now you have a good story. This is Winston. You like Winston?
I love Winston. I
Okay,
want to buy it.
all right, he's all yours.
We'll just take this and
Okay.
go on my way.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Awesome.
To learn more, visit Fish Lips on Facebook. For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find feature videos and information on the Arizona art scene. Funding for Artbeat Nation was made possible by contributions to aid from viewers like you. Thank you.